So chapter 17, Shraddhatraya Vibhaga Yoga. It's a divisions of faith. Okay, so we have come almost to the end of our Bhagavad Gita journey, right? So tomorrow is chapter 18. Let us pay our obeisance to Sri Radha Govinda. Hare Krishna. Om Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamiti Namane Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschat Desha Tarine Jayo Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Om Ajnana Timirandasya Nananka Shalakaya Chakshunnitam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Mena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapada Kamalam Shri Guru Vaishnamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadotam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakana Vittamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarupyascha Kripa Sindhu Vevacha Patitam Nam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So what did we do yesterday? Let's have a short recap. So it was there's a choice. No, we have a choice either to nurture divine or demonic qualities. So this is what we do. What is the divine qualities? They perform acts for self-realization. That means they will follow the scriptures and they'll escape the gates of hell. What are the gates of hell? Lust, kama, krodha, mada. Lust, anger and greed. So they are the divine qualities who will perform the acts of self-realization because they will be following the scriptures and they will surely attain the liberation. But if they reject scriptures, then they'll be acting whimsically and finally they'll be miserable and they will go to the hell degrades, to the lower planets. So these are the divine and demonic qualities which Krishna was explaining in the last chapter. And if you look at the inverted banyan tree in the chapter 15, he was comparing. No? So here we see that the people who divine qualities nurturing, they'll be in the top and the other end is the demonic qualities. So now in this chapter, he's going to say what happens to the people who are in the in-between. They're not in, they have a mixture of both the qualities, divinic and demonic. So what happened to them? So, and it's all, Krishna in these last three chapters, 13, 14, 15 and all, he is talking about jnana, how humbly getting to know this knowledge, we will be able to be in the path of spiritual life. How to be is establishing the supremacy of the devotional service. How to do devotional service, and he's giving us the knowledge from all angles. We talked about the modes of nature, three modes of nature: mode of goodness, mode of passion, and mode of ignorance, our natures. And then he talked about the using banyan tree also. He talked about how we surpass this material and from the material life, how to get disentangled. Okay, because we are in the clutches of Maya. How to come and go beyond these modes. So again, he continues in this chapter. So here in this chapter, it starts with a query by Arjuna. He says about unauthorized worship. That is, people who do not follow the scriptures, but they worship as per their whimsical thing. Then what happens? Which modes are there? Then Krishna answers that their modes depends on the faith. What faith they are, that because upon the modes will be depending on their nature, they'll have that kind of faith, and according to their faith, they will also worship accordingly, depending on what they believe in, right? So, and that what belief they have depends on their modes, whether modes of goodness, passion, and ignorance. Then he continues to talk about the foods in the three modes, because the foods are the ones which gives us Ayu, Sattva, and Balaragya. So Arogya. So he says that it talks about the foods also in the three modes: goodness, passion, and ignorance. Then he continues to talk on sacrifices, or three kinds of austerity: austerity of body, mind, and speech. Then austerity in the three modes, charity, and then Om Sat, Tat Sat, sacrifices, charity, austerity, all should be offered to the Supreme. Then only we be in the thing for that. So these are all the aspects of a lifestyle. And it's very easy to understand this particular chapter also, because this is what is we find day to day in our experience life. So starts off with Arjuna said, "O Krishna, what is the situation of one who does not follow the principles of scriptures, but worships according to his own imagination? Is he in goodness, in passion, or in or ignorance?" So why he says that? Because we see, in our life, there are people who will they don't want to look at the Vedic scriptures or even the Christianity Bible or anything. They would like to do as per their own whims and fancies. Why they want to do that? Because they want to defy the discipline. They want to defy the things. And what is this Scientology? Scientology is nothing, a set of beliefs and practices invented by an American author. Okay, he has got his own beliefs and practices he has invented, and people like that, they follow that. And what is this flying spaghetti monster? That is again a light-hearted religion. They oppose evolution, whatever has been taught in the class. They like to have their own thing. They're all fancies, whatever they fancied. And if somebody puts up in the net or anything in the Google, they'll look at it and they will just like to follow that. So they have some faith. But one thing we should understand, all of us have some faith in something or the other. Like, for example, we put our money in the bank. We have faith in there, that our money will be in safe hands. Otherwise, we will be in anxiety, So we have some faith in that. We have faith in the traffic rules. We have faith in our parents. We have faith in the teachers and so many things. We have faith in our day-to-day life. We do trust. We do trust and the people, and we have we trust, and then accordingly we carry on our day-to-day work, isn't it? So we have day-to-day. So it is nothing. It is our life is not just black and white. There are always shades of gray. So there are things we trust, there are things we believe, and we place our values upon it, right? So all of us have faith in something, but whether it's as per the religion thing considered, depends on the whether they believe the scriptures or not. It depends on their nature, right? So faith is there in everybody's life. So we see when we talk about the goodness, rajas and tamas, is a simple example here. These are the three brothers, this is Ravana, Kumbhakarna, and Vibhishana. So Vibhishana was very in the mode of goodness. He was always believed in the Supreme Lord. And whereas Ravana was Rajas, isn't it? He was always defying and in the passion, mode of passion. Kumbhakarna was always tamas. So these are this distinctly shows us, though in the same family, they can be of three different modes depending on their nature. And in fact, Vibhishna, because when Ravana went to the extent of kidnapping Mother Sita and thing, then he left his brothers and joined Lord Rama because he was wanted to be in the path of Dharma, right? So these are the three modes of thing we can see. So what does Krishna answer to the Arjuna? So he says, Sri Bhagavan Uvacha Trivida Bhavati Shraddha Dehinam Sa Swabhavacha Satviki Rajasi Chaiva Tamasi Chaiti Tam Shranu. Arnab, you want to read the translation? Hare Krishna.
According to one's existence under the various modes of nature, one evolves a particular kind of faith. The living being is said to be of a particular faith according to the modes he has acquired.
Okay. So the Supreme Lord, what does he say? According to the modes of nature acquired by the embodied soul, one's faith can be of three kinds: goodness, passion, or ignorance. Now hear about these. Say every time Krishna keeps telling about the hearing. Hearing Shrunu. That is, hearing is the most important thing, because all this transcendental knowledge, we cannot understand just by memorizing this thing, but we have to clearly hear with humility to the authority. That is the spiritual master who is telling us about this knowledge. So he keeps on telling us to hear and hear. Here, what does he say? According to the nature. See, the karmis, they are in the rajas. Okay, they want to do a lot of karmic activities according to the Vedic scriptures, because they are interested to go to higher and higher planets, to the Svargaloka. Okay, but people who are in the Sattva Guna, they are the Jnanis. What do they want? They want liberation, mukti. So Brahmins, would like to and go and their speculation and to their knowledge, they would like to merge with the Brahman. But very rarely we have people who are in the Shuddha Sattva mode. For them, Bhakti Yoga is the thing. So they will follow the Bhakti Yoga. Slowly, they will progressively straight to the Prema Bhava and then go to the Goloka. They are the Bhaktas. So they, according to one's existence and depending on the modes of nature, they evolve a particular kind of faith. And depending on their faith, they'll have that kind of association with people, and they'll have their worshipping also will be in that kind, and they are in that mode. That's so the living being is said to be of a particular faith depending on the modes he has acquired. So this is how the tamas people will never be in the worshipping mode. So Ejanti Satvika Devan Eksha Rakshasami Rajasaha Retan Bhota Ganam Si Chanya Yajante Tamasa Janaha. So Arnab, you read it.
Men in the mode of goodness worship the demigods, those in the mode of passion worship demons, and those in the mode of ignorance worship ghosts and spirits.
So here Krishna clearly says, people who are in the mode of goodness, they will be worshipping the devatas. Okay, that is Satvaka Deva, Ajanti. So they are worshipping the Deva, that is devatas. And who are in the mode of Rajasa Guna, they will be worshipping the demons, Rakshasa. Okay, and who are in the mode of ignorance, they are the ones who Bhuta, Preta, ghosts and spirits, they worship. So, depending on their nature, they worship according to their mentality, isn't it? And even the ghosts and spirit, we do see in Mangalore and all, they do that ignorance, mode of ignorance. So, according to one's faith, that is how people worship. That is, they will either they depends on their nature, isn't it? So, and those who undergo severe austerities and penances not recommended in the scriptures, performing them out of pride, egotism, lust and attachment, who are impelled by passion and who torture their bodily organs as well as a super soul dwelling within are to be known as demons. See, these kind of people, there was no need to put your head into the mud, okay, or like this. I mean, it is was not necessary, isn't it? All you have to do is focus on the Lord. Here we see Ravana, no? He is lifting the Shivaloka, isn't it? And here we see Hiranyakashipu. Hiranyakashipu is doing his tapas and his body is already manifested by the ants and all that, but still he's focused on thing. And what for? He wants to uh, defeat the death. That is, he wanted a benediction from Brahma not to die. And finally, when he gets some benedictions, he becomes a Dhamma. And here also Ravana gets benedictions from Lord Shiva after all the tapas and doing all this, the austerities, but ultimately they are having demonic nature, isn't it? So they are the nonsense thing who are not doing as per the scriptures. They are only performing it out of pride, lust and attachment, egoism, okay, impelled by passion. And they will go to the extent of torturing their body. So they are misled mentality. That's what we can say. Now he talks about the foods in the different modes. You can read Arnab. Okay.
Foods in the modes of goodness increases the duration of life, purify one's existence, and give strength, health, happiness, and satisfaction. Such nourishing foods are sweet, juicy, fattening, and palatable. Foods that are too bitter, too sour, salty, pungent, dry, and hot are liked by people in the modes of passion. Such foods causes pain, distress, and diseases. Foods
So,
cooked,
yeah, continue.
foods cooked more than 3 hours before being eaten, which is tasteless, stale, putrid, decomposed, and unclean, is food liked by people in the mode of ignorance.
So if you think what are these decomposed, no, there are some cheese and all, no, which they like, no, it is very sour and some kind of things. People do like such kind of food also. Okay. So that is sattvic food. Sattvic food are the ones which gives us sattva food. That is foods in the mode of goodness, increase the duration of life. Ayu, then purify our existence and give strength, health, and happiness and satisfaction. Sattva bhala. Such nourishing foods are sweet, juicy, fattening, and so these kind of foods. But if they're too bitter, too sour, salty, that type of foods are people who are in the mode of passion, they like such things. But actually, when you eat too much of hot, very spicy food and all, you do get some distresses and disease, isn't it? And these are the stale foods and all which is being eaten by the mode of passion, ignorance. So what the people normally, there's a saying, no, we are what we eat, isn't it? So this is one thing we can decide how to our destiny, isn't it? We can decide by the choice of food, we can decide which one we want to choose. So sattva food, and so there is a foods also depends upon the modes of nature. The people's nature are there, no, different people who have different natures, so their taste also differs. And now after the food, so everything, see, Krishna doesn't leave any aspect for chance, for not to be discussed. So he talked about the faith and then he started telling about the food. Now he's talking about the sacrifices. Why we do sacrifice? There are many things. Now, if you want to achieve something, we have to do some sacrifice. Like if you want to live, then you will be working very hard. If you don't look at the immediate benefit, you would like to see the long-term benefit. For that, you will be sacrificing something. So everything, like studying for your exams, you want to study, you want to get good marks, so you'll be even sacrificing sometimes sleep and this. You'll be working very hard to to do well in the exams. So sacrifices are there, which everybody does it. okay, of sacrifices, that sacrifice performed according to duty and to scriptural rules with no expectation of reward is of the nature of goodness. So this is what is called, that is the Sankirtana Yagna. We said no, Japa Yagna is what is recommended in this Kali Yuga. So Sankirtana Yagna is recommended here. So that is, we do this Yagna to, it will be in the nature of goodness. So everybody observes certain sacrifices depending on their faith. But that sacrifice performed for some material end or benefit, or performed ostensibly out of pride, is of the nature of passion. Oh, chief of Bharat. So there are people who like to do yagnas and all that, and they'll invite a lot of brahmanas who want to show, big show will be put up, they want to tell ostentatious, they wanted to show off to people that they are doing such a thing, and out of pride, so they are not actually doing it for the Lord. They are only focusing on how others can appreciate him and they can see his wealth, and it's a pride they have, they want to be glorified. So that kind of thing is known as the passion. So such kind of sacrifices, when they do, it is known of the nature of passion. Okay, then how do the people with ignorance do? And that sacrifice performed in defiance of scriptural injunctions, where no spiritual food is distributed. Whereas in the other one, no passion, they do give hymns are chanted, remunerations are given to the priest and all that, but they want to show off. They want to people to glorify them. So that is done. But here they don't do, they do sacrifices where no spiritual food is distributed, no hymns are chanted, no remunerations, and it is faithless. That sacrifice is of the nature of ignorance. I don't know if you all know the story of this Bhashmasura. So he will be doing a lot of yagna, how he will be into the sacrifice, he will be cutting off his own flesh, into the, and putting into the fire of the sacrifice. That kind of tapas he'll be doing on Lord Shiva. Okay, finally, it's a lot. So that kind of tapas is not there in the Vedas, no, that you have to cut your body and put it into the fire and all that is not there. And he's not having any Brahmins to do the chanting of hymns, and no remuneration is given. So that kind, so he is doing it as per his own this thing and torturing his body. Okay, and it is faithless. So this kind of sacrifice is known as a nature of ignorance. But Krishna, Lord Shiva was so, when I think finally he gives them benediction, isn't it? That if you touch somebody's head, you will basma, no? You become destroyed. So that's the benediction he wants. And that too for what? To hurt others. So they produce a demonic mentality. So they have such kind of, that kind of people. So then Deva Dvija Guru Prajna Pujanam Chauchacham Arjavam Brahmacharyam Ahimsa Cha Shariram Tapa Uchyate. Arnab, you can read this translation.
The austerity of body consists in this worship of the Supreme Lord, the Brahmanas, the spiritual master and superior like the father and mother. Cleanliness, simplicity, celibacy, and non-violence are also austerities of the body.
Oh. So first he talked about the faith, how they have, and as per the faith, how do they worship? So the people in the mode of goodness, they worship the devatas. The mode of passion, they will worship the ghosts and things. And then the thing is the spirits, who are the ones in the mode of ignorance. So after the worship, he talks about the food, the three modes, no, which is good. Only the mode of goodness is good for the health and for the body and for the sacrifice. So then he talked about the sacrifices, how they do their yagnas for their own self. And now what is he talking? The austerity of the body, how they keep it. So that is the austerity of the body means you worship the Lord, you worship the Brahmanas, you respect them, you respect your spiritual master and superiors, and like father and mother and teachers. Then you will be clean in the body as well as in the mind. Then simple living and high thinking, celibacy, non-violence. These are the austerities of the body. Okay, that's how you can follow the austerities of your body, right? Then Anudvega Kharam Vakyam Satyam Priya Hitam Chayat Sadaya Bhyasanam Chaiva Van Mayam Tapa Yuchate. So Arnab, you read this.
Austerity of speech consists in speaking truthfully and beneficially, and in avoiding speech that offends. One should also recite the Vedas regularly.
So now he's talking about how we should use our mind, austerity of the mind. How should we be? We should be respectful to the elders, to the Lord, to the father, mother, and all that. And we should also be clean and think. We talked about the austerity of the body. Now, austerity of speech is you should be truthful. And it should be, whatever you talk, it should be beneficial. It should not be hurting somebody. Okay, you should not offend somebody. You should not talk in such a way to hurt other people. Okay, and if it is something useful only you talk, don't talk all the nonsense talk, people simply want to talk, they will only talk about trivial things. Don't talk. If it's only beneficial, only you talk about. And you should recite the Vedas regularly. So that is known as austerity of speech. How you can control your speech. It is the urge of speaking everybody has. Everybody likes to talk. Okay. They like gibbery talk is not recommended. So here Krishna says you should also, in speech, you should be careful in the way you are talking about things. So you should be careful, you should be polite, and you should not hurt anybody. So that is it. Here we have the Yudhishthira, Maharaj Yudhishthira is a very good example who was austerity of speech, right? And you should recite Vedas regularly. That will help us in keep putting the speech. So it's a penance of the speech. So we talked about the penance of the body and the penance of the speech. Now he's talking about austerities of the mind. Serenity, simplicity, gravity, self-control, and purity of thought. Even the thoughts should be pure. We should have so goodness. So how the goodness, mode of goodness would be? They would be calm and content. Whereas mode of passion, they'll be dissatisfied. They're anxious. They cannot be. Whereas ignorance, people, they'll be bewildered. Isn't it? For them to follow the austerities of the mind would be difficult. So this is what he's saying. Serenity, simplicity, self-control. So austerity of mind. So all this, see, everything is very practical. And if you think retrospect, you meditate on these, what he's saying, the principles, it is very useful to adopt in our life, isn't it? So here it says, Shraddhaya Paraya Taptam, Tapastat Sri Vidam Naraha, Aptalang Shabir Yuktaha, Satvikam Parikshate. Arnab, you can read this.
This threefold austerity practiced by men who whose aim is not benefit themselves materially but to please the supreme is of the nature of goodness.
Okay. So if you practice this austerity of the body, mind, speech, and mind, then it will not to benefit yourself materially, but to please the Supreme. So you're having the Supreme Lord in your thoughts, and that if you do that, you're in the nature of goodness. Okay, it distinguishes people who have the focus in the mind of the Supreme Lord, and then and how they practice it. Okay, but Satkara Mana Pujatam Tapodambena Chaivayat Kriyate Tadiha Proktam Rajasam Chalam Adruva. Now you can read this. Arnab?
Those instantaneous, yes, Mataji. Those ostentatious penances and austerities which are performed in order to gain respect, honor, and reverence are said to be the mode of passion. They are neither stable nor permanent.
So there are people who do these penances. They will do all that only as a show. They want to only show the thing to gain some respect, to gain some people should honor them, and like that they will behave. They will follow these penances. But only thing is they can't be permanent because they are trying to please others, no, trying to other devotees. It's not they are not having the Supreme Lord is the center for them. So the center is not Supreme Lord, but to get glory, people should glorify them. That is the reason. So when they are doing for that with that motivation, then it is they are said to be in the mode of passion. Okay. So you can see their natures are different. So they will observe these austerities as per their faith. They believe in that. So they think that if we do this, then people will honor them and people will respect. For that reason, they will behave like that. They will be controlled. But actually, they don't have, they're not doing it for the Lord. So Muddha Granat Manayat Pidaya Kriyate Tapaha Parash Sadanartam Va Tat Tamasam Udahartam. So Adna, we can
And,
translate.
and those, the penances and austerities which are performed foolishly by means of obstinate self torture or destroy or injure others, are said to be in the mode of ignorance.
Okay, so they will be, they are doing demonic nature. So they want to hurt, they want this power to destroy others. So these kind of penances and sacrifices they do foolishly because they want to injure others or they want to destroy others. You see even terrorists, no, they will don't mind even they have the bombs, into their body just for foolishly thinking they are sacrificing their cause for some cause, they wouldn't mind hurting the whole people. So that kind of those are torturing themselves. So that is they are in the mode of ignorance. So they have the power to destroy others. So here was the Hiranyakashipu, who got the benediction from Brahma, that he won't be killed by so many benedictions he asked so that he can escape death. But finally, death comes to him. So power to destroy others. So this is the mode of ignorance. So we saw how the austerity and penances for different modes of people, what happens. Now we finish the austerity of speech, body, mind, and speech. Then we talked about the worshipping, the faith. Now he talks about charity. So charity means it's a mentality of everybody has. No, they will like to serve somebody. They like to help somebody. That helping nature, serving someone, it's already inherent in every living entity, in all of us. Okay, but how we do it, with what motivation, and think that's what now Krishna is talking about. So it is very practical. Dattavayam iti yad danam dhyate nanupakarne karane deshe kale cha patre cha tad danam satvikam smartha. So Arnav, read this. Hare
Hare Krishna. The gift which is given out of duty at the proper time and place to a worthy person and without exception of return is considered to be charity in the mode of goodness.
So even if you do charity, if you're doing it out of duty, it should be done at the proper time and place and not just give charity to anybody. It should be given to a worthy person and without expectation of return. Then only it is in the mode of goodness. But it should not be given to unworthy person and not in the thinking this. So when the charity, there's a different natures, mode of goodness, passion, and things. Let us see how passion people will do. So according to one's faith, people help others. So there are people who will do charity in the mode of goodness. So here we have Vasudev, who is when Krishna was born, he was gave a lot of charities to the Brahmanas, to everybody here. That. So yatutta pratyupakaram phalam uddisha va punaha diyate cha parikshilesam tad danam rajasam smrata. So you can read this
But
translation.
but the charity performed with expectation of some return, or with the desire of for fruitive results, or in encouraging mood, sorry, is said to be charity in the mode of passion.
So here is the, you see, this person is giving some thing for these people because they need some food and all that, and he's taking a selfie. This is what happened even in the Corona period. A lot of politicians were giving charity and they wanted to be in the TV. So with their names, with their names also were printed on the bags which they gave the food and all that. So this kind of charity is said to be in the mode of passion. So people who do it, what for? They want to, they grudgingly give. They don't want to give, but they want to give it to show something. They want some expectation to be noticed, expectation to be, and for some punya they'll get. Like that, they want to give, not for really to help the people. Okay, it's not in the mode of goodness. They are expecting something. So that kind of charity is said to be in the mode of passion. Okay, this picture is a clearly shows us what the in motivation of this person is who is trying to give charity. And adesha kale yad danam apradyascha diyate asakkatum avagnatam tad tamasam hudahat. So how do people do in mode of ignorance? Here Krishna says, Arnab, you can translate this.
And the charity performed at an improper place and time and given to unworthy persons without respect and with contempt in charity in the mode of ignorance.
So, so you have to be very, very careful when you're giving some charity. So there are people, you think they come and you give some charity and they will use that money to buy drinks or for getting some cigarettes and things. That means your charity is a waste. It has gone for in the mode of ignorance. It has not gone at the proper place. And they're not the worthy people. So we have to be very, very careful in giving charity. Okay. And we should not give it to unworthy people. Okay, that's what he says. Krishna says it has to be performed. If it is performed at an improper place and time and given to unworthy persons without respect and with contempt, charity is in the mode of ignorance. What this person wants money for, he wants it for to buy some drugs. So such kind of charity is said to be in a mode of ignorance. So even for doing the charity, we think it is a punya. It's a punya thing. But you might get some sinful reactions also because of if it goes to unworthy people. And you think you have done it in the right cause, but if it is misused, then you would also have to bear the consequences of sinful reactions. So we have to be very careful while giving charity, right? So here Krishna is clearly distinguishing how people when they do charity, how it can be in different, three different ways, modes. So he indiscriminate charity. So finally what he concludes is, from the beginning of creation, the three syllables Om Tat Sat have been used to indicate the supreme absolute truth, Brahman. Okay, they were uttered by Brahmanas while chanting Vedic hymns and during sacrifices for the satisfaction of the supreme. So Omkara is actually it says in the Hadi Leela Charita, Chaitanya Charitamrita, that Omkara is a Vedic sound, vibration. Omkara is principal word in the Vedic scriptures. Is the basis of all the Vedic vibrations. Therefore, we should accept Omkara as the sound representation of Supreme Personality of Godhead and the reservoir of all the cosmic manifestations. So, we have to, even in chapter 8, we saw that glories of Omkara was described. If at time of death, one remembers Omkara, he remembers Supreme Personality of Godhead. And therefore, immediately he will be transferred to the spiritual world. It is in all the Vedic mantras. ultimate goal is to reach Krishna, isn't it? So in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Vedaischa sarvai aham eva vedaha. Similarly, the transcendental sound Om is further explained now in this chapter. So he's now putting a lot of emphasis on this Om, and we have to have a clear understanding. He says, I am the father of the universe, mother, support, grandchild. I am the object of knowledge, purifier, and the syllable Om. It was said, no, I am also the Rig, Sama, and Yajurveda. We saw that in chapter 15. Similarly, the transcendental sound Om is further explained now in this verse, Om Tat Sat. So, Srila Jiva Goswami says, only this vibration sound can deliver a conditioned soul from the clutches of Maya. So, everything, even Bhagavatam, Srimad Bhagavatam begins with Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So, Omkara is as good as Vishnu because Omkara is all pervasive as Vishnu. So, Lord Vishnu and Omkara are not different. So, here is very much clearly he's explaining what this Om Tat Sat. We keep hearing it, but we think we simply accept it. It's the thing, but we don't go into the meaning. So from the beginning of the creation, we see a lot of sages are doing the yajnas, and they all start with Om Tat Sat. So in these following verses, 17.24, he explains this. Thus the transcendentalist undertakes sacrifice, charities and penance, beginning always with Om to attain the supreme. So why do we utter Om when all these spirituals they do? Om means Vishnu. It is placed at the beginning of the Vedic times to indicate the supreme goal. Okay, that means whatever we are doing, the sacrifice, the penances, charities, all our goal is it is for the Supreme Lord. So if that is the goal, if we use Om, it is that. And one should perform sacrifice, penance, charity with the word Tat. Why? The purpose of such transcendental activity is to get free from the material entanglement. So it is given in Chandana Upadeshya also, Tat Tamamsi. So Tat describes detached work for the sake of liberation. These activities are done with disregard for material results. So when we utter Om Tat Sat means that is we are doing all these sacrifices and charity and all that for the Lord and to get liberated from detached from this material world. The absolute truth is the objective of devotional service and it is indicated by the word Sat. So these works of sacrifice, true to the absolute nature, are performed to please the Lord. So Sat means eternal, activity is done for the service of the Lord. It reveals the true spiritual nature. In such activity, the performer of actions becomes eternal. The activities are aimed at the eternal and the benefit. So in this chapter, he was talking mostly on the faith and the devotions we have, and the sacrifice and penances which we do, charity, which should be done for the Lord. Then we can get detached from this material world, from the cycle of birth and things. But if you do it without faith in the Supreme Lord, that is sacrifice, austerities and charities, performed without faith are non-permanent. So regardless of whatever rites are performed, they are called asat and they are useless both in this life and the next. So if you don't get any benefit, nothing, you only will have some sinful reactions which you have to bear in your next life. So here it's very clear. So these are simple things which we do in our day-to-day life. And then Krishna says how we should do that. So these were the keywords, and we saw it was the summary. That is, Arjuna inquired about unauthorized worship. Then Krishna answered that faith depends upon their nature, the modes of nature, whether they are in the goodness or the people are passionate or in the ignorance mode. Depending on that, that's how they do their worship. That's how they have their food. And that's how they do their sacrifices and their kinds of austerity, body, mind, and speech. And how if they do it in the goodness or in the passion thing. We saw that. Then charity also. And finally he concludes that Om Tat Sat, sacrifice, charity, austerity should be offered to the Supreme Lord. Then you'll get the benefit, otherwise you don't. So we should remember in this chapter is on Om Tat Sat, and the aspects of lifestyle was what was discussed here: food, faith, worship, austerities, and charities. So it's here we should be very careful in what charity we do, isn't it? And how we do and to whom we give. They should not misuse it. So if they misuse it, you might have given it in good faith, but if they misuse it, also you will get the reaction. Then they should have a proper guidance, and the best way is to do Krishna consciousness, because that is the Sankirtana Yajna. So Sankirtana Yajna will help us to free from material entanglements and attachments, and it will perfect all our activities. So Bhagavad Gita, we see, it's a self-improvement book. It has everything one needs to know, and we can design our own destiny. I know we don't have the supreme controller is there, but by our activities, by our actions, by our whatever we learned, and if you practice and if we do this, try to purify ourselves, then we can design our own destiny for our next life, isn't it? So these are the practices which Krishna has told in this chapter. Okay, I hope all of you will go to the select next level 2 course, and there is in this level 2 course, we will be doing this Bhagavad Gita in 3 modules. I mean, again, like these 3 chapters, 3 sections. But if there's some time, they might cover these books. Otherwise, mostly the focus will be on Bhagavad Gita, to do it in slowly, all these chapters. And now people who have done by the time you finish your chapter 18 quiz, you can register for this level 2. Okay. And that will be twice a week and 1.5 hours. And you can also, if you don't want to do the quiz and assignments, you can just be an attendee also. You can just attend and listen like you're doing now. But that also option is there, and you can attend. I just wish you will continue it and don't stop with this, because you sat with me for 18 days and tomorrow is one concluding day, and I wish you will go to the level 2. So with this, I will end this session. Vancha kalpatru abhyascha kripa sindhu eva cha patitam nam pavanebhyo vaishnavibhyo namo namaha. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Please chant and let's be happy. Hare Krishna. Stop.